and the waitlist pinged me for a table for two under her name. The text arrived with the fake cheer of hospitality. "Hi, it's Juniper and Cole. Your table for two under Myra is ready. Please see the host within 10 minutes." I was in the warehouse, arguing with a palate that believed in gravity only when it felt poetic. I don't book tables. We eat at our kitchen counter with forks that don't match. Juniper and Cole is the restaurant people post when they want their loneliness to look curated. I stared at the screen like a magician waiting for the dove to admit it's a napkin. The last time I was at Juniper and Cole was our anniversary 2 years ago, when we decided their bread is better than vows at fixing anything. The waitlist knows your number because it wants credit for your hunger. Somehow it had mine. I walked out past forklifts humming their rude lullabies and called Myra. She picked up with the voice you use in a public place when you want the world to believe you're having a harmless day. "Hey," she said. "Your table is ready," I said, "for two." Silence first because we're not amateurs. Then, "Alex," she said, my name landing like a tiny folded instruction. "Do I come," I asked, "or do I cancel?" "Come," she said, and the honesty in her voice did something unwelcome to my chest. "If you come, we eat. If you cancel, I do too." I drove because storms respect men who think they're busy. The city was practicing autumn and smelled like metal deciding to forgive. Juniper and Cole glowed its particular amber, the expensive shade that flatters people into forgiving one another for ordering small food. The host gave me the smile expensive places are trained to offer people who look like problems with wallets. "Table for Myra," I said. "Your party is already seated," he said, and I shouldn't have liked how kind he sounded. They were at the banquette in the corner the internet has taught to be a confessional. Roman, of course. There is a posture of men who design spaces and then try to live in them. Elbows obedient, shoulders persuasive. Myra saw me and arranged her face into the bravery I married. She didn't stand. Thank God we haven't started performing for furniture. "You asked me to come," I said, sliding into the third side of a two-person table like a question refusing multiple choice. The candle did its stupid work, making us look like people not making mistakes. "Because I'm tired of talking about us in rooms you don't enter," she said. "Because this started at a table and maybe it should end at one." Roman looked at me with the humility of a man who has been practicing it. "I'll go," he said. "You'll stay until I'm not guessing," I answered, and a waiter materialized to pour water like an alibi. We ordered the way decent people do when they are about to be indecent, mechanically, kindly. Juniper and Cole's menu is a thesis about restraint. It gives you words for what you're eating so you can justify it to the part of you that misses butter. We said yes to raw things and a bread described as torn, which made me feel implicated. I could have made a speech. Instead, I slid my phone onto the table next to the candle like a confession and turned the screen so it faced all of us. "The waitlist texted me," I said. "I didn't hack your evening. It invited me." "I put your number down," Myra said, "because I didn't want to hide, because hiding is why I ended up here." Roman exhaled in a way that suggested he had designed the sound. "I thought this was a goodbye," he said. "He loves finales. He has learned to audition for them without sweating. Dinner is kinder than doors." "It's a middle," Myra said, half to him, half to the glass. "I'm tired of middles." The bread arrived and asked us to be people who grow old quietly. We buttered it with knives designed to flatter our hands. The raw fish tasted like expensive apologies. 21 days, I said finally, because my courage learned a number and refuses to be creative. 3 weeks of no waitlists, no performances. Heat at home, or we admit it was never about rooms. If at the end you still want restaurants to give you permission to feel alive, you'll tell me and I'll press the elevator button for you. But you won't be able to say, I didn't offer you a menu where now is a main course. Myra's shoulder loosened like a certainty stepping out of high heels. And what do you put on the table, she asked, besides rules? My hands, I said. Not later, not well lit, not after I've proven my usefulness. I stop arriving only as a man who can lift boxes and start arriving as a man who opens his mouth before his alibis. She didn't smile, not yet. She looked at Roman, then at me, then at the candle trying to write us both as fiction. I want heat that doesn't require a reservation, she said. I don't want to audition for my own life. You won't, I said. Not if we both work like this bread. Roman set his napkin down and the candle did us the mercy of flickering. I will pay, he said, because that's the ceremony men like him need to be allowed to leave. And then I will leave, and you will practice. Practice what? I asked, because cruelty needs to be specific to be kind. Being ordinary on purpose, he said, and for once I liked his mouth. He stood, placed a card that probably had better credit limits than my patience on the leather folder, and left with a gentle economy I didn't hate. The waiter pretended he'd needed to go talk to a man about a line cook. We ate what we'd ordered like people who didn't deserve any more theatrics, and then we walked home, because taxis are metaphors that nobody needs at this stage. At the corner, she stopped under a streetlight's honest bulb and put her palms against my face like she was checking for a fever she wanted me to have. Do you want me now? She said, not a dare, a measurement. Yes, I said, and the syllable did the work I had spent a year outsourcing to better lighting. We didn't make it romantic. We made it true. In our kitchen, she leaned back against the counter, the bad lamp doing its job, and we kissed with the specificity of people who have stopped trying to sell their lives to onlookers. Nothing happened that needs to be blurred. Everything happened that makes a room remember who it belongs to. After, we ate toast at the counter like criminals with butter knives. We said the unglorious sentences out loud. I hate that I needed a stranger to ask for what you would have given me if I had used my mouth. I hate that I let competence be a costume that kept my body out of our marriage. We didn't solve it. We scheduled it by touching each other again. The rules were humble. No reservations we don't both book. No saving kisses for when the dishes are done. No saying later if what we mean is I'm afraid. If jealousy comes, we make it carry a bag of groceries upstairs or it doesn't get to enter. Day 2, I failed at 18, 12 by pretending work was an arson I alone could put out. She texted a single word, now, and I typed a paragraph about pallets before deleting it and writing coming. We met in our hallway. She pushed me gently against our own door the way popularity pushes people into bad rooms, and then we kissed like the light switch had asked politely, and the dark had said yes. The hallway learned nothing and everything. Day 4, Dasha called to ask if we wanted to come to an opening for a set designer who arranges furniture like apologies. We're practicing boring, I said. Boring is punk, she said, which is exactly the kind of sentence a person who loves chaos says when she misses the smell of soup. Day 6, my mother called to ask about the leak above their stove by telling me a story about pears. I patched pipes after work and came home smelling like ideas people have about men. Myra was reading at the table, feet bare, mug like a confessional. Now, she asked. I said, yes, but I also want the soup that turns me into a person, and she laughed and handed me a spoon like a contract. Day 7, we walked past Juniper and Cole. The window performed its amber. Inside, a couple was pretending to be better than their circumstances by ordering less food more beautifully. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "I miss quick proof," I said. "I don't miss not earning it." Day 8, Roman sent a single message that tasted like humility. "I won't book tables for people who don't live with me," it said. She showed me. We said nothing. She archived it the way you put a decent coat in a closet you no longer open. Day 9, we fought about nothing that was something. I left a glass in the sink without water. She left a light on without need. We found ourselves arguing as if we were trying to win homework. We stopped mid-sentence and kissed because kissing is the only argument that requires both people to be right and doesn't keep score. The fight failed, and so did whatever wanted to replace it. Day 11. I took out the good sheets. She laughed at me because we own sheets you can't remember until you touch them, and then you suddenly believe in fabric again. We made the bed together and then ruined it with care. She said more, once in a way that rearranged my understanding of traffic laws. Day 13. The warehouse lost power. I came home early, a wet dog version of a man, a little proud of having chosen correctly. She was making coffee with that total attention that makes everything erotic if you're paying enough attention. "Now," I said. "Here," she said. We did both and then drank it standing up like reasonable people who had decided to prioritize one good thing over another for once. Day 21 came in with no trumpets. We were at the counter eating tomatoes cut like arguments. The basil was a tyrant about its needs. She said, "Do you still want me now?" And I said always, like a maintenance plan, not a fairy tale. The candle, when we lit it later, was not asking us to confess anything. It simply made the room less rude. We didn't celebrate by going anywhere. We celebrated by staying. I pulled a stool from under the table and made myself 6 inches more useful while she diced. She slid me a slice of peach, and I took it from her fingers with my mouth, and we both pretended it was a normal action in the middle of a weeknight. Dinner was good because we had made it, and because it contained ordinary parts that like each other. A week later, a text arrived from an unknown number. "Juniper and Cole misses you," it announced. "2 seats available tonight at 7 if you'd like to slip in." I replied, "Our table is at home," and blocked it. It felt adult and messy and true. Sometimes I think about the people at the corner table under the amber light and hope they're lying to each other in ways that can be repaired by bread. Sometimes I want our life to look more photogenic than soup and hallways, and the dumb lamp that makes us both look a little tired. Then she sets a grocery bag down, or she says, "Now," like a pin on a map, and I realize beautiful is a word that gets better when you only use it once in a while and mostly just show up. We kept the candle from Juniper and Cole, the one they wrap for people who pretend to love scent descriptions. It sits on the shelf and smells like citrus that cheated. We don't light it. We keep it to remember the day I learned I would rather be bored with her mouth than entertained by a room. When I'm cleaning, I pick it up, then put it back, and then go find her wherever she is and touch her on purpose, without proving anything. If you want the version of this, you can put on a sign outside a restaurant. "Stop outsourcing heat to places that congratulate you for making reservations." If you want the one that actually keeps the lights on at home, say "now" when you can still mean it. Say "later" only when you've already planned the maintenance. Say "always" like a word that costs you something and earns everything it touches. Last night on the way to bed, she caught me in the hallway and said, "Table for 2, and I said, "Ready," and we laughed like people who can finally afford to be simple. The waitlist will never text me about that table. It doesn't need to. The host lives here. The candle is ugly and correct. And when she asks if the table is ready, I don't check my phone. I move the chair. I put my hand on the small of her back. I say yes.